This is the Sony A6700, and in my opinion, is the best hybrid camera in the market. Yes, I've been using this camera for the past 8 to 9 months, and this is my long-term review. This is my workhorse for the channel. I record all of my videos, most of my B-roll with this camera, and I'm in love. On my vacation trips, on my channel work, everything. This camera just does it all, and I've loved it. It cost me around $1,400 plus the lenses, but I think it was the best money that I've ever spent. Incredible. It gave me so many memories. It also made me quite a bit of money on my YouTube channel. So yes, this is a tool, but a fantastic one. So let's talk about my experience with the Sony A6700 in the past 9 months. I know what you are probably thinking. If I'm holding the Sony in my hand, what's recording this video? Simple, it's the iPhone 15 Pro Max. Wait a second. And this is the Sony A6700. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, but I think this is a big improvement. Yes, in the last 9 months, the Sony A6700 has been a great tool in my toolbox. It's versatile, can do everything, small, compact, and I would say that for a mirrorless camera of this quality and this caliber, it's quite cheap. This is, in my opinion, the best value camera you can buy. A mirrorless camera, to say. This camera costs only $1,400. And on top of that, it's an APS-C sensor. So all of the lenses that you are going to buy for this camera are cheaper. At the end of the day, I'm very happy. APS-C, full frame camera, it doesn't matter. I've paid less, way less than I would have if I actually went for a full frame camera, still got amazing performance, and for what I do, which is actually just shoot talking head video, or even going to vacations, take some photos, amazing videos, to remember one day, this camera can do it perfectly. And I don't need to bring around very expensive gear, very heavy gear, and gear that just not worth it to have. So yes, this camera is perfect for me, and I do believe that for me, for my use cases, buying a more expensive camera, a full frame camera right now, is just wasting money. So yes, 9 months with an APS-C sensor camera, the Sony A6700. What are my thoughts? Well, quite simple. Starting off with this sensor. First, when I bought this camera, I was like, I'm in a doubt. Should I buy a full frame camera? I was going to buy the Sony A7 III because I did not have the budget for the Sony A7 IV, and then again buy lenses, full frame lenses above all, which are way more expensive, double the price of the APS-C lenses. I was thinking, I don't have the budget for that. I will have to settle for a Sony A7 III, can shoot 4K 30 frames per second, and maybe one day I will get the A7 IV or the A7S III. And I was thinking for that like for, I would say, 6 months before I bought this camera. This has been a big project of mine, at least 6 months or 1 year before I bought it. Because for the first 2 years of my channel, I actually used my iPhone to record all of my videos. It's kind of weird, I know. But 1 year before I bought this camera, I decided to start thinking, to investigating, and to decide which camera should I buy. Start to save some money, especially for my channel. And so I decided around the July-August time that it was time to buy a camera. And the funnest thing was Sony launched this camera at that time, specifically at that time. So yes, it was perfect timing. Things don't happen at random. And I got the Sony A6700. This is an hybrid shooter. It has a sensor of 26 megapixels. It's an SC sensor, the same as the Sony FX30. Great sensor, takes incredible shots, video, photo, insane, really good. I'm very happy with the performance for my YouTube channel. The video, the A-roll looks incredible, the B-roll looks incredible. This also shoots S-Log3 with 14 stops of dynamic range, which for most people is actually overkill. If you like to color grade your videos, it's great. I love shooting car reviews, and this camera does it pretty well. Again, it's an APS-C sensor, so low light video won't be as good, but it won't be bad either. I went to a Vegas trip and I took the Sony A6700 and I took amazing shots at night that I'm very proud of. And of course video. So this is not a monster in terms of low light. It's not the low light king, but it's not bad. And you can go up to, I think, 3200 ISO, good enough. And the lowest ISO possible is 100 ISO. So yeah, this camera actually performs really well. On S-Log3, the minimum ISO is 800, and I think it's 800 and 1600 in terms of the dual base ISO. It's not that bad. And S-Log3 is for those that like to color grade. So if you like to color grade, you probably like cameras, you probably have a mirrorless camera. And so you are looking and thinking, should I buy this for a secondary camera, not for a primary camera? In that case, you don't really need to watch this whole video. But if you are a beginner, if you are someone starting on this camera journey, keep in mind, this, for the price that it is really, really good. And I try to explain to people, you don't need to buy full-frame cameras when you are starting off, even for a YouTube channel. Because, hear me out, when you buy a full-frame camera, you actually are committing to hidden costs that you are not aware of when you buy the full-frame camera body. Because, again, the lenses of the full-frame system, they cost way more than you are expecting. For example, I have these lenses, just wait a second, I will grab them. This is a Sony zoom lens. It's an APS-C sensor, an APS-C lens. It's an f4 18-105. It's a zoom lens, so you can change between different focal lenses. You have a zoom ring. It's stabilized. It's a G lens. It has the power shot movement, so you can zoom in really fast and zoom out really fast. Great for taking photos. Great for shooting videos. It's great for portrait photography. Not that great for low light conditions because it's an f4. It's not a very wide lens. But how much do you think this lens costs us for an APS-C sensor? 300? 400? No, I bought it for $250 on Amazon. Insane pricing. And yeah, this lens equivalent on full frame probably costs double, so around $500, $600, $700. Way more expensive than the APS-C counterpart. Then I have a 15mm f1.4 that I'm shooting this A-roll right now on my Sony. This is my video lens, especially my ultra-wide lens. And yeah, it cost me around $550, $600. This is a very expensive lens because it's an f1.4. It's a G lens, just like this. It's made of incredible materials. It has autofocus. It's from Sony, so it's more expensive. And it was one of the launch lenses for this Sony camera. It cost me $600, let's just say that. This lens equivalent on full frame, $1,200, $1,500, is that expensive. This is a prime lens and it only has one focal length, the 50mm, nothing more. So yes, APS-C lenses are much more cheaper. Accessories for APS-C cameras are cheaper. Everything is cheaper on APS-C side. If you have any issues, if you drop your camera, if you have your camera stolen, there are a lot of things that APS-C cameras, especially the cost, that are way better than full frame. And you get about 85 to 90% of the performance of the full frame camera, which for most beginners, or I would say all beginners, it's more than enough. So if you are looking to buy a normal APS-C camera and you are in doubt because should I buy it, should I not buy it, what are the advantages, what are the benefits, the disadvantages? Well, in terms of the disadvantages, just think it's the low light performance. Because the sensor is smaller, about 1.5 times smaller, the low light performance won't be as good because you don't capture as much more light. And the other thing that is different from full frame is that you need to remind that your focal lenses are cropped in 1.5 times. So for example, a 50mm lens like this is equivalent to about 22mm on full frame, while 100mm right here on this zoom lens is equivalent to 150mm on a full frame camera. Quite weird to think that this is not an 18-105 on full frame, but is more about, I would say, 27 to 150, 155mm. So that's a good thing because you don't need to buy very expensive lenses that normally are the zoom lenses that can zoom very far away. They are very expensive. Telephoto lenses for full frame, no. You can have these lower focal lenses that can reach almost that far. This comes at the cost of the low light performance not being as good. So pick your cards. APS-C sensors are great. They are used in the film industry as cinema cameras. And yeah, the Sony FX30 from Sony is an incredible camera lens to shoot video. And the Sony A6700, think about it as the Sony A74 of the APS-C lens. So if you are looking to buy an APS-C camera, think that this Sony camera is the one to buy. This is the most balanced, has the best autofocus performance. In my opinion, has the best color science. I never color grade my videos outside car reviews. And on top of all of this, cost only $1,400. And then of course, only the body, you need to buy lenses. Like I told you, my full kit of lenses, I only have two, is $250 for the zoom lens, and $600 for the prime lens. You could save a bit more money on that. Buy an equivalent, I think it's Sigma, costs about $350 if I'm not wrong. The Sigma 60mm f1.5. That's a great lens. It's very equivalent to this one. This one is a tiny bit better, marginal improvements. That's why it's much more expensive. But with almost like $2,000, you can build a setup that will be more than enough for 99% of the occasions. Of course, you could buy a higher reaching lens, a higher telephoto, a 200mm APS-C telephoto for like $200. And this is the advantage of APS-C. All the lenses are really cheap. All the things that surround the APS-C cameras are really cheap when compared to full-frame cameras. Because people take these cameras not that seriously, but they should. This is a very powerful tool. And for you, beginner, small budget, starting off your YouTube journey, or even starting off your filmmaker journey, these APS-C hybrid cameras are an amazing choice. They perform really well, they are quite cheap, and especially their accessories, their lenses, their ecosystem is much cheaper. And of course, it has all of the perks and features of the newer cameras, still has the AI modem inside, still has a great processor inside, the same as the A7 IV, all the new software features from Sony, this one has, the AI follows you around like center stage on Apple, it still has 5-axis body stabilization, can still record 4K 120 frames per second, at least it's not the best, it can only last like for 10 minutes, it's a bit cropped in, about 1.5, 1.8 times, but you can do it. You can record 4K 60, no crop, at least no crop in relation to APS-C, 1.5 crop in relation to a full frame, but it has no crop in terms of APS-C, 4K 60 frames per second, the battery life is insane, it still uses the same Z batteries as the bigger full-frame cameras, can record incredible S-Log3 footage with 14 stops of dynamic range. So this has professional level features, professional level characteristics, just like the same as the Sony FX30, but it does not have a fan, so it overheats a bit more. But in terms of photos, it's incredible. It has a mechanical shutter as well as an electronic shutter, so you can hear that tuk 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 very satisfying sound that the camera makes. It can shoot 11 frames per second really fast, way better than 1 frame per second on the Sony FX30, and that's the advantage of this camera over the FX30. This is a photo camera as well as a video camera. This is an hybrid camera, and the FX30 is a cinema camera, so it's focused more on shooting video, not photos. Yes, this also has a viewfinder. The Sony FX30 does not have a viewfinder. This has a rollable screen that you can roll to the front, to the back. You can switch the positions, just like the Sony A7 IV. Pretty useful, I love it when I'm recording video and I'm looking directly at the screen to check if I'm in focus, to check if everything is okay. And then there's the autofocus, which is really good. You can tap to focus on the screen. You can use the autofocus on animals, cars, planes, insects, detects it all. Incredible. It locks into your eye and it never loses you. Really good. And it also has manual focus on the lenses. The stabilization is great. If you buy a stabilized lens, then if you turn on the most amount of stabilization here, it will be very stable, handheld, and it also has and stores the gyro information for later on outside the programs. You can stabilize your image with outside stabilization software. So yes, the Sony A6700 can give you everything that you need for a great camera. It's an hybrid camera, so it shoots video, shoots photos, and all of them are really good. Here are some examples of what the photos that I took in the last year with this camera, and I'm really proud. This is my first big real camera, my first mirrorless camera, and I'm actually very happy that I did it. $1,400, if I look back and think, were they well spent? Definitely. So, let me know in the comments below what you think about this camera. In my opinion, it's one of the best, not the best cameras you can buy right now. Overall, it's a great secondary camera for those that have higher end cameras. It's a great beginner's camera. It's a great YouTube camera. It's a great photo camera. It's a great video camera. And Sony did a great job creating this camera. So yes, let me know all of that in the comments below. Drop a like down below. Subscribe to the channel. Thank you guys for watching. This has been my 9-month review of the Sony A6700. Thank you guys for watching. Bye bye.